Okay, so let's have a little peek at the track Time Warp by Subfocus. So using one of the default bass settings, we're going to use the TAL Electro, which is a really versatile and free download synth from TAL. Very versatile. I've tried it a few times for getting that really good low-end sound that you need to underpin some of your tracks. So we're just moving around the synth now just to kind of get a nice low subsonic sine wave type sound, dropping it down an octave. Okay, and we're there very quickly. We can maneuver the filter. We're just using one oscillator. It's better to use one oscillator for the subsonic bass because it's quite a pure sound, so it's good to keep it simple. Bit of work on the envelope. We're not going to need any modulation or LFO or any movement at all on the sound. We just want to keep it pure and low and fat. Bit of work on oscillator 1. Just tuning in a little bit. We don't need the sub, we're going to switch that section off. We've only got one oscillator. So looking at the bottom of the rack, we've got the synthesizer, we've got the PSP, vintage warmer, we've got the compressor, and we've got the filter as well. That's it for the subsonic sound. Now let's move on to the bass sound. So for this we're going to use a synth called the TAL U62. This is a Juno based Roland synth. It's a polyphonic synth, lots of options, reminiscent of the Juno range from the 1970s and 80s. So we're doing a bit of sound sculpting here. We're going to stick with the square wave. It's going to have a little rasp on it though. We want it to have a little bit of attack and a slight bit of filter envelope as well. Moving into the VCF filter section, bit of resonance. So now we can start shaping the envelope. Turning up the VCA, turning down the decay on the envelope here. Slightly less attack. Turning up the release a tiny bit. Doing the job great. Final few tweaks before we bring in the beats and see how it all sits together in the mix. And we're done. Okay, so with this sound alike feature, we've looked at the sub bass, the mid-range bass, and we're looking at the synth as well for this section of the track. With all of the synths in this demo, the TAL range, not all of them have a reset setting, so I've been having to find a random sound and then just taking it from there to show you guys how to use these synths to your best potential. So we're using the TAL Electro again to achieve this particular synthesizer sound. We're using all three oscillators for this one, and there's some sort of complex bandpass, filter, sweeping sounds that the synth makes, and we need to look at the filter section for that. We need to look at the envelope section as well and balance the three oscillators. So selecting oscillator 1 there in the envelope, and also on the LFO 1 and 2. Selecting the pulse width 2 or PW2 setting in those little windows on the LFO. And also on the mixer section, balancing those oscillator levels and also adding a nice bit of noise, because as you can hear, this sound is one of those sounds that's got a lot of white noise in it. Bringing up the volume a little bit. Keep that subsection switched in. And on oscillator 2. And from here on in, we're shaping the envelopes, working the filter section, sculpting that sound. We've got the general sort of sound from the oscillators themselves. It's just now a matter of the sculpting in the filter and also in the envelope sections of the TAL Electro synth. And finally switch on some of those insert effects on the channel, and let's hear it with the whole beats. Let's hear how it sits in the mix.